Hello and welcome to this first travel related tutorial. This tutorial will be about how to write your own travel diary, which is something I really recommend doing. I really recommend it to all of the travelers that travel with me. And I also make workshops about that. And I also advise and teach my single travelers to do that, how to do that. So, first off, I will start talking to you about my personal experience. So, as I told you before, I am a traveler. This is what inspired me to make this business and to make these tutorials on YouTube. So the first thing I would say from my personal experience, but this is just a personal opinion, is that I really like to buy my diaries directly in place. So directly in the place and country that I am visiting. This is because I like them to have an outlook that reminds me of my travel and of the place I have been to. So for instance, this is one of my Kenya diaries. You can see that it's written, of course, in Italian. Diaries, it's not the first. This is the third. I write a lot. The first, of course, I always take it from home. So to be sure that I don't miss anything, and not even of the flight, because sometimes I like to write about the flight. These are some other diaries from Kenya, from my trip to Kenya. I kind of like them because they are not so typical, but they show an animal that I have seen there when I was on safari. And they are quite interesting because they really are some school books, notebooks for children. And here you see they explain school stuff in the way they do that there. So they are really thin. They are really, really thin. So I guess I had to buy 3 just to cover maybe less than half of my holiday diary. But you know, that's something that makes a good memory to me of this trip, because when you travel, of course, and we will talk about that in future tutorials, you have to adapt yourself to the place you're visiting. It's really, really important. And I think that this is not something that you have to deal with as an effort. This is something that can come quite easily and naturally. And this is something I think it's really good, not only because you will be better accepted and you will know that you are respecting people, but also because an environment and culture and everything, but also because the small things really can give you the most precise idea of what a place is, what happens there. So for instance, for me, this super thin diary, which was really kind of the only thing I could find there. After a lot of research, I think I have been to more than 3 shops before buying this. It reminds me that it was Africa. It was a place where people don't have much money, where you need to save trees, you need to be very attentive to nature, and that's something they really do. So yeah, the thinness of this diary really means a lot to me. So I basically buy a random diary at home, or just take a random diary that I have at home and take it with me, just to be sure that I start writing whenever I want to, even if I didn't have the time to buy a diary there. Then, as soon as I can, when I go shopping, I try to find a diary, which is not always easy. That of things course, like diaries, you will find them. I have found diaries, as I showed you, in Africa and everywhere. If I can, really, I always look for cute designs that remind me of the place I have been to. So I start writing immediately, just write on the aircraft while arriving in the place I'm going to, because I like to write all of my emotions. Traveling for me is something that really moves me and inspires me to think, so I really don't want to miss anything. But and of course, when you're in a plane, you just have to stuck there for hours, and sometimes you really don't know what to do. Of course, you have to take a book with you. I will most probably make a tutorial later about what to bring with you in your hand luggage and in your suitcase. But for now, let's just say that I will probably have some books and a diary with me on the aircraft. These was bought in Turkey. And what else? This is from South Africa. It's not really a typical design, but that's from Norway. It really doesn't matter if they don't have a typical design like the first I showed you. It's just sufficient that I do remember where I bought it, and just when I look at it without even opening it, I remember I have souvenirs of this trip. So the first thing I do, of course, is writing the name of the place I am traveling to. And I tend to always write the dates. Maybe not every day, not every single day, maybe just sometimes I just write the dates and the places. Of course, just not every day, but just each time I move to another place, just to remember when and where I have been. I don't know if you can see that, if you can read. As I told you before, I start off writing the place I'm visiting, and this is written in. Sometimes when I just get to learn that, I like to write the name of the place in the language which is spoken there. So this is Norway. And I write at least the season and the year. As you can see, this is part 3, so there's more of Norway. And so, as I told you before, there's no rule about writing a diary. There's not the right way to do that. You can choose whether to write it every day, which was something that I used to do for many years. But I realized that I couldn't make it because I had a lot to do. I was visiting all day long, maybe going out. So when I got back at the hotel or wherever I was staying at, I was really tired, and sometimes I really didn't have the time to write it all, and I just fell asleep because I, as I told you, like to write a lot, and when you want to capture the emotions of a moment, you really would like to write everything about that, every single second you have lived during your
But this is not
day.
possible,
of course. So what I have started doing recently, because I realized that I just left pages and pages blank, thinking, okay, I will do that tomorrow and I will write 2 days instead of one, but I never did. So things just, the worst thing that I can think of when I travel is one of the saddest things, really, is that all that I am feeling in this moment, I am doing in that moment, will be forgotten. And it's not really the case, because of course traveling is something that changes you from the inside, as I told you, and it's something that remains within you and changes you, really. But of course you will not remember everything. And I remember myself writing this desperately in a diary from India, from my first trip to India. And I was like, oh no, I will not remember the faces of the people I have met here and that I really enjoy staying with right now. And yeah, it's true. It has been this way, and but it doesn't matter, because what matters is that you remember the whole thing. You have the sensations inside you, so the emotions and feelings. So I usually don't put pictures in my diary, and I usually use plain diaries, and I just write them off, because I like to feel free and creative and to do it my way. But I know that there are, overall in English, a lot of ready to use diaries, but I have never used one of them. There are some that are really, really good, and if you want, I can give you my advice on which ones I think are best. But as I said, I prefer to write my own from a blank one. And for instance, something that I don't like about diaries who are already ready to use is that you have a lot of not a lot of space for the writing, and you have a lot of place for pictures, which are something I never put in my diaries, because it's something that, you know, I will watch later when I get back home, and they are not paper pictures. They are pictures that I can watch in the computer, of course, right now. What I do sometimes is I put some souvenirs that I find during my trip. This is something I really enjoy doing, so let me show you some. Sometimes I even put pictures like that. This is always from Norway, and they are postcards, really. Something has fallen off my Norway diary. And this is sugar little bag from a restaurant, and as I watch it, I immediately remember which restaurant was it and the time I spent there, what I did. As you can see, I have written something on the back because there was a music I really liked, so I asked the waitress to tell me which band was this.